Matt, you're a Republican in Texas. Congress, they're back in session for 14 more days. Then they have a break until the end of the year. Will they pass another stimulus before their next break?
I'm not convinced that they will. I still think we have two opposing sides, regardless of who won the election, and we're never going to get where we need to go. It is extremely important that the next stimulus, these aren't a few $1 billion stimulus packages, these are trillions of dollars. And it's extremely important that they go and they're allocated in the right way. Yes, there are opinions on the left. Yes, there are opinions on the right. But I don't believe that in the next 14 days, they're going to get to a spot to where both parties, both sides are happy and be able to get this pushed through, unfortunately.
Matt, Angela, as a libertarian in California, do you agree with Matt's point? Do you think that they won't come together on a stimulus?
I agree with a lot of Matt's points. I don't think there's enough time to get a stimulus bill packaged. I think that Democrats are going to really want to stick it to Donald Trump and not give him anything else before he leaves office. And I got to tell you, as a libertarian, I'm kind of glad, because I don't think that there's any appropriate way to allocate trillions of dollars in stimulus spending. Printing money, having the Federal Reserve just print money out of nothing is a bad policy. Inflationary spending is terrible. It's devaluing our dollar. And if we keep on this path, we're going to turn into Venezuela. So thank you, Congress, for being too gridlocked and divisive to ruin the country further economically.
We need to have more transparency in general over where these trillions of dollars are going. I don't need to know where every dollar is going. I don't have the mental capacity to understand that. However, it is important that we understand. I don't care if it's allocated, where is it being allocated to? Is it being allocated to things like, for example, the travel industry? Will the airlines get a bailout? They've already got a small bailout, but they've been laying people off left and right and furloughing employees. Is the average person going to get more than $1,200 total from this bailout, which does nothing? For some people, it doesn't even pay their rent. We need to allocate the money in the right way. And there's no way in 14 days they're going to allocate trillions of dollars in a way where both sides are happy. It won't happen.
Sure. And by the numbers, Matt, over 11 million people are still unemployed. Why is the stock market then at an all-time high?
The stock market and the economy they correlate, but they are not directly correlated. The economy is what's our unemployment rate look like? What is our overall GDP? What's coming in and what's coming out of this country? The stock market is simply shares of organizations that are being sold and bought by the country's top elite financial folks.
I'd stop you there, Matt. I mean, you're right. There is a heavy influence of the elite and the top that hold that. Angela will tell you, though, as a libertarian, that many personal 401ks, many personal pensions are all in these stock programs. So if the stock market is allocated in that way, where a lot of Americans have their money tied into it, it's not just the elite, Angela. Why is that stock market continuing to rise with 11 million people out of work?
Well, the markets have been artificially inflated with all the free money I referenced earlier, printed by the Fed for the stimulus packages. And also right now, investors are emboldened by the possibility of a coronavirus vaccination hitting the market soon. Obviously, that's going to encourage more investment in biomedical stocks and things of that nature, specifically the company that's pushing the vaccine and the other companies that are right behind them trying to do the same. It's going to encourage people to be more optimistic about reopening and an economic recovery from the lockdowns. But the futures market had a slight drop this morning. I think the stock market is really still pretty fragile right now because people are kind of overbought and putting a lot of faith in a vaccine that may not deliver. And they're anticipating an end to lockdowns because of that. If those things don't happen, I think that we could see the market tank again. So don't put all your faith or your money in the stock market right now.
Matt, for those viewers that are watching that are unemployed at this point in time, that may be of retirement age, where they've been holding off on touching their 401ks, what happens when Joe Biden gets elected? He's talked about additional lockdowns. Is that really going to affect these individuals?
I don't think Joe Biden has talked about more lockdowns, but I do think that it will impact the economy if they do happen. So I think, it is extremely important that we differentiate between where people's 401ks are and where they are not. You look at the statistics, you look at companies like Amazon, you look at some of the major grocers, you look at some of these where we have our money for the most part. I mean, depending on, where you put your money within your 401k, yeah, of course, you're going to have it skyrocketing. But these local businesses, these small businesses are honestly, at the end of the day, the ones that will continue to suffer, which is probably where a large percentage of that unemployed population are coming through. Whether that be, the mom and pop store down the road, or these smaller retail or manufacturing industries that don't really get a lot of airplay. So we need to make sure that we're appropriately differentiating between big business. I mean, I have most of my 401k in large equity, large organizations, the Amazons, the Apples, because I like low risk.
Mhm.
However, those great people that don't like low risk, they could really honestly be seeing the fluctuations in the stock market that we don't see, because all we look is at the Dow or the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. There's many things that happen outside of those big tech companies and those big companies that most people have in their 401ks. So I'm going to continue to preach that we have to differentiate between the two. Our unemployment numbers do not represent the stock market, and vice versa. To Angela's point, it's extremely important that people understand that just because these organizations are, and I agree, I do think that they are artificially inflated. What will happen when this ends? Is the economy going to skyrocket and we're going to see a $40,000 Dow Jones Industrial? I don't think so. I think we're going to probably stay pretty stagnant, because when the economy comes back, and I have full faith that it will, I don't know if we're going to see much. I think it's just been artificially held up through the pandemic with hopes that we go back to normal.
Angela, he brought up a point of those independent people out there, the business owners, the restaurant owners. Here in Orlando, we thrive off of tourism, but most tourists don't know the independent areas. So our major restaurants, the chains, the Olive Gardens, they're still here, but Joe's Taco Shop isn't. Joe may or may not have already been in the stock market. Is it a good time for him to put some money into the stock market if he lost his business right now? Is that a good play for him?
I think that you got to seek out the advice of an experienced financial advisor on that. That it may not be the best choice. It's really going to depend on what someone wants to do. I don't think that day trading is ever a good way to, cut your teeth in the market. Invest in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going up right now.
Excellent. All right. So moving on to our next question with Matt in Texas and Angela in California. Biden has assembled the first all-female White House communications team, but they've come from many liberal news networks, specifically CNN and MSNBC. Does this prove the media bias, and can we trust them anymore? Matt?
We have to understand that what Biden is doing is no different than what Trump did. And if we really look back, I'm sure other presidents have done the same. So no, I think what it does is it proves that whoever wins the office is going to put people in places of power that align with their views. Would I like to have seen a much more politically diverse group of people? Absolutely. Do I love the fact that they are all women and a substantial amount of them are women of color? Absolutely. But I wish I would have seen some differentiation within that.
I see you shaking your head, Angela, down there in California. You're seeing a group of all women communications team. Is that great for the country?
No. You ask, can we trust the media anymore? Anymore? They were already obviously biased. I've never had any trust in them. They've never given me a reason to trust them. No one should trust them. As a woman, I'm insulted that Biden went through and picked all females to show off how great girls are. Excuse me, I work very hard. I have a serious career, and I've done it on the merits of my efforts, not on my gender. I'm just nauseated by the gender pandering that's coming out of the Biden administration already. Ugh.
Does identity politics help the country, Matt?
So first of all, no, it doesn't. Like I said, I would love to see a much more politically diverse group of people on there. And I hope to see his cabinet, if he does not pull from both sides, I hope that he does pull a number of moderates, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but I would like to see that. And does it help the country? No. Does it hurt the country? No, it's good. And if a Republican is nominated and wins the presidency in 2024, we're probably going to see a few people that Trump didn't fire or didn't make, have a hatred towards politics, probably come back into that administration. Most of these people were part of the Obama-Biden administration 3 terms ago, and they're just boomeranging back in. Once these people are all in communications, what we need to realize here is that I'm not defending. I love, unlike Angela, I love the diversity of the team from a gender and racial standpoint. But I think it's really important that we understand that these people are simply boomeranging. Yes, of course, they go from an Obama administration and they're not going to go to Fox News. They're probably going to go into CNN or MSNBC. Same thing from all those folks that are now going to be let go from the President Trump's administration. Guess what? They're probably going to go to Fox News or some other conservative media outlet.
And but does that make it hard to trust the media then, Matt?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it's bound to happen. I'm not agreeing with it. That's just what happened. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we need to understand that Biden should have done more from political diversity. Other than that, no, it's not going to help anybody. But that's what happened, and that's what probably will continue to happen.
Angela, on my end of things, I'm an independent. So I see all of these administrators coming from Trump going down to Fox News. We're seeing all of these folks from CNN and NBC going to the Joe Biden administration. Doesn't that just further polarize the news?
Libertarians are not shocked by any of this. A Democrat administration is going to pick Democrats to be on its staff. I mean, sure. Should you trust the news? No, never. I don't understand how anyone would trust the news at this point. I think that it's pretty transparent what's going on. I mean, especially as an independent, I would imagine that you guys just want to check your TV out the window most of the time. I know I do. I can't watch it. I tune in, I check in just to see, are they still saying, yep, they're still doing what I think they're doing. What about this? Yep, they're doing it too. That's about the extent of my faith in the news. Definitely guaranteed they'll keep doing the same nonsense as always.
This conversation has been beneficial from a number of ways as an independent to see both sides, the views that you're bringing up. We will always want to have all of our views represented so that myself and our audience can take a look at every side. So we're absolutely inviting Democrats, Green Party, whoever else wants to join our guests. You can absolutely do that by DMing me on Twitter. You can put your comments below of the points that you've agreed with Matt or Angela on. And if you've liked me as a host, give me a thumbs up. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.